They sense it the moment you walk into the room. Not your presence, not your confidence. Something else, something that makes them step back without knowing why. It's in your eyes, but not the way you think. It's not intensity. It's not aggression. It's the complete absence of need. The terrifying calm of someone who has faced the abyss within themselves and didn't flinch. You've become what Nietzsche warned about and promised in equal measure. Someone who makes others uncomfortable not through intimidation, but through the simple fact that you exist beyond their comprehension, beyond their control, beyond their ability to manipulate, seduce, or break. But you're not there yet, are you? You still flinch when someone raises their voice. You still feel that knot in your stomach when you're rejected. You still lie awake at night replaying conversations, wondering what you should have said, how you should have responded, why you always seem to be one step behind in the game everyone else seems to understand. You think strength means not feeling. You think power means not caring. But Nietzsche knew something you're only beginning to suspect. True strength isn't the absence of pain. It's the transformation of pain into power. Not the power to hurt others, the power to never be hurt again. You were taught that being good makes you strong, that following rules makes you respectable, that fitting in makes you successful. So Nietzsche called this the greatest lie ever told. He called it slave morality. The psychology of the herd, the weakness disguised as virtue. And you believed it, not because you're stupid, but because everyone around you believed it too. Your parents, your teachers, your friends, they all sang the same song. Be nice, be humble, be considerate, don't make waves, don't stand out. Don't threaten the comfortable mediocrity that keeps everyone feeling safe. But look where that got you. You're watching this because something inside you knows it's all wrong. You've played by their rules, and what did you get? Overlooked at work, while the loud ones get promoted. Used in relationships by people who sensed your need to please. Manipulated by those who recognized your fear of conflict. You've been strong in all the wrong ways. Strong in your ability to endure abuse. Strong in your capacity to suppress your real thoughts. Strong in your willingness to sacrifice yourself for people who wouldn't sacrifice a coffee break for you. Nietzsche saw this coming. He watched civilization create a new type of human. Not stronger, but weaker. Not freer, but more enslaved. Enslaved not by chains, but by guilt, by shame, by the constant need for approval. He called it the last man. The human who has given up on greatness for comfort. Who has traded the possibility of becoming extraordinary for the guarantee of being accepted. And every time you bite your tongue, every time you apologize for existing, every time you shrink yourself to make others comfortable, you become more like that last man. But there's something else moving inside you. Something that won't let you accept this domesticated existence. Nietzsche called it the will to power. Not power over others. That's the mistake everyone makes. It's power over yourself. The power to create yourself. To decide what you value without asking permission, to stand alone without needing validation, to face the truth that there is no universal meaning, no cosmic purpose, no divine plan, and instead of collapsing into despair, you create your own meaning. You become your own God. Everyone misunderstands the Übermensch. They think it means Superman. They think it means being better than others. They think it means domination. They're all wrong. The Übermensch is the one who has overcome themselves, who has killed the weak parts of their psyche not through suppression, but through transformation, who has faced every dark corner of their soul and integrated it into something powerful. You want to know what really terrifies people? It's not aggression. It's not violence. It's not even intelligence. It's the person who doesn't need them, the person who has made peace with solitude, who has embraced their own darkness, who has stopped running from the void and learned to dance with it. When you meet someone like this, you feel it immediately. They don't try to impress you because they don't need your impression. They don't seek your approval because your approval means nothing to their sense of self. They're not cruel. They're just complete. And that completeness is terrifying to those who are still fragments, still seeking, still needing. Modern neuroscience confirms what Nietzsche intuited. The brain of someone with genuine mental strength shows distinct patterns: enhanced prefrontal cortex activity, superior emotional regulation. But here's what they don't tell you in the studies. These changes don't come from thinking positive thoughts. They come from facing negative ones, from sitting with discomfort until it transforms, from choosing difficulty when ease is available, from saying yes to suffering when everyone else is desperately trying to say no. Here's where Nietzsche becomes truly dangerous. He didn't just say accept your fate, he said love it. Amor Fati, love of fate. Not resignation, not passive acceptance, active embrace. Every betrayal that broke you, every failure that humiliated you, every moment of suffering that made you want to disappear, love it all, not because it was good, but because it made you. Recent research from 2025 proves this. Studies with over 1,000 participants show that Amor Fati is the single strongest predictor of mental health. Stronger than resilience, stronger than optimism, stronger than any coping strategy psychologists have developed. Why? Because it doesn't try to escape suffering. It transforms it, it takes the poison and makes it medicine. It takes the wound and makes it wisdom. But you're still trying to escape, aren't you? Still hoping that one day you'll reach a place where nothing hurts, where you're invulnerable, where you're finally safe. That place doesn't exist, and even if it did, you wouldn't want it. Because that place is death, psychological death, the death of growth, of becoming, of the very thing that makes you human. Nietzsche knew this. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger isn't a motivational quote. It's a biological fact, but only if you choose to be transformed by it rather than destroyed. Think about the last time something truly hurt you. Not physically, emotionally, psychologically. A betrayal, a rejection, a failure. What did you do? You probably tried to forget it, to move past it, to heal from it. But what if you did something else? What if you said, "This pain is mine. This suffering is my teacher. This moment of destruction is also a moment of creation"? What if instead of trying to return to who you were before, you used it to become who you could never have been without it? Nietzsche spoke of the greatest war, not between nations, not between classes, the war within yourself, between the part of you that wants to remain small, safe, accepted, and the part that wants to become dangerous, free, authentic. This war never ends. Every day you wake up and choose which side wins, and most days you choose wrong. You choose comfort. You choose the familiar. You choose the weak interpretation of yourself because it's easier. But ease is the enemy of strength. Every time you choose the easy path, you become a little weaker. Every time you avoid confrontation, you become a little smaller. Every time you suppress your real thoughts to keep the peace, you die a little inside. And you know this, you feel it. That heaviness in your chest, that exhaustion that sleep doesn't cure, that's the weight of all the times you betrayed yourself to make others comfortable. The strong mind isn't built in moments of victory. It's built in moments of choice. The choice to speak when silence would be safer. The choice to stand when kneeling would be easier. The choice to be hated for who you are rather than loved for who you're not. These choices hurt. They isolate you. They make people uncomfortable. Good. Let them be uncomfortable. Their comfort has been built on your submission for too long. You think you need techniques, strategies, methods, but Nietzsche offers something more brutal and more effective. He offers a complete revaluation of values. Stop valuing what they told you to value. Stop fearing what they told you to fear. Stop wanting what they told you to want. Create your own values, not from scratch. From the deepest part of yourself that knows what matters without being told. When you stare into the abyss stares back into you. Everyone quotes this. Few understand it. The abyss isn't some external darkness. It's the darkness within you, the parts you've hidden, the thoughts you don't admit, the desires you're ashamed of, the anger you've suppressed, the power you're afraid to claim. Most people glimpse this abyss and run. They distract themselves. They medicate. They stay busy. They stay shallow. They stay weak. But what happens if you don't run? What happens if you sit with that darkness until your eyes adjust? What happens if you realize that the monster you've been running from is actually your greatest strength in disguise? This is what Nietzsche meant by going under. You must descend into yourself before you can rise above yourself. You must face your demons before you can become divine. The research on dark triad traits reveals something interesting. Narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy correlate with mental toughness. But here's what the research also shows. These traits, when unintegrated, when acted out unconsciously, lead to destruction. But when recognized, understood, and consciously integrated, they become something else entirely. The narcissism becomes unshakable self-belief. The Machiavellianism becomes strategic wisdom. The psychopathy becomes emotional independence. You don't become evil, you become complete. This is why truly strong people terrify others. Not because they're cruel, but because they've integrated their cruelty. Not because they're selfish, but because they've accepted their selfishness. They've stopped pretending to be purely good. They've embraced their full humanity, and in that embrace they've found a power that those still playing good cannot access. Here's what no one tells you about becoming strong. It's lonely, not because you push people away, but because most people can't follow where you're going. They're still playing games you've stopped playing, still worried about things you've stopped worrying about, still afraid of things you've made peace with. You'll speak and they won't understand. Not because you're speaking above them, but because you're speaking from a place they haven't been. Nietzsche knew this loneliness intimately. He wrote, "The higher we soar, the smaller we appear to those who cannot fly." This isn't arrogance, it's observation. When you've transformed your suffering into strength, when you've created your own values, when you've learned to love your fate, you become incomprehensible to those still seeking external validation. They'll call you cold, arrogant, disconnected. They're not entirely wrong. You have disconnected from their reality, from their concerns, from their limitations. But this loneliness isn't empty. It's full of possibility, full of creation, full of the freedom that comes from needing nothing from anyone. This is what Nietzsche called the pathos of distance, the necessary separation between those who have overcome themselves and those who haven't. Not because you're better, but because you're different. Fundamentally, irreversibly different. And here's the paradox. The more complete you become in your solitude, the more magnetic you become to others, not because you're trying to attract them, but because humans are drawn to those who don't need them. They sense something in you they can't name, a completeness they crave but fear, a freedom they want but can't pay the price for. They'll orbit around you trying to understand, trying to possess, trying to become like you, but they can't. Not until they're willing to go through their own descent, their own war, their own transformation. Nietzsche's most terrifying idea wasn't God's death. It was the eternal return. Imagine you had to live your exact life over and over again. Every moment, every choice, every pain, every joy, forever. Would you change anything? Most people would change everything. They live lives they wouldn't want to repeat once, let alone eternally. They endure rather than embrace. They survive rather than thrive. They wait for it to be over rather than will it to continue. But the strong mind, the mind that terrifies, says yes to the eternal return. Not because life has been easy, but because they've transformed every difficulty into strength, every wound into wisdom, every loss into liberation. They would live it all again because they understand that their suffering wasn't a mistake. It was the material from which they built themselves. This is the ultimate test of strength. Can you look at your life with all its pain, all its failure, all its humiliation, and say again, can you love your fate so completely that you would choose it for eternity? Most can't. Most won't. But those who can, those who do, they become something beyond human. They become what Nietzsche envisioned. They become creators of meaning in a meaningless universe, gods in a godless world. You want practical steps? Here they are. But know that these aren't techniques, they're transformations. They won't make you feel better, they'll make you stronger. And strength, real strength, hurts before it helps. First, identify every belief you hold because someone else gave it to you. Every value you claim because society says it's good. Every fear you carry because you were taught to be afraid. Write them down, all of them. Then burn the list, literally or metaphorically. These aren't your beliefs, they're your programming, and you can't become strong while running someone else's software. Second, find your deepest wound, the thing that broke you, the experience you've been running from, the moment that changed everything. Stop running, turn around, walk straight into it, sit with it, feel it fully, not to heal it, to claim it, to make it yours, to transform it from something that happened to you into something you chose. This is Amor Fati in practice. Third, practice saying no, not to be difficult, but to be clear. No to requests that drain you. No to relationships that diminish you. No to compromises that betray you. Every no to them is a yes to yourself. And every yes to yourself builds the kind of strength that doesn't need to announce itself. Fourth, embrace useful delusions. Nietzsche understood that some lies are more valuable than truth. The lie that you're destined for greatness. The lie that your suffering has meaning. The lie that you're fundamentally different from others. These aren't objectively true, but they're useful. They create the reality they describe. Believe them until they become true. Fifth, create something. Anything. But create it from your pain, your anger, your darkness. Don't create to be understood. Create to understand yourself. Create to give form to the formless chaos within you. Create because creation is the highest expression of the will to power. It's saying, reality isn't enough. I will add to it. Now I ask you the only question that matters. The question that will haunt you or liberate you. The question that separates those who become strong from those who remain weak. If everyone you know saw the real you, saw every thought you've hidden, every desire you've suppressed, every moment of weakness you've concealed, every dark impulse you've denied, would you still choose to be exactly who you are? Most people would panic at this question. They would scramble to explain, to justify, to apologize for their hidden selves. But the strong mind, the mind that terrifies it, would smile. Not because it has nothing to hide, but because it has nothing to be ashamed of. It has looked at every part of itself, light and dark, good and evil, beautiful and ugly, and said, "This is me, all of it, and I wouldn't change a thing." This is what Nietzsche meant by becoming who you are. Not discovering some pre-existing self, but creating yourself from the raw material of your experience, taking everything life has thrown at you and forging it into something powerful, something unique, something that makes others step back not in fear, but in recognition that they're in the presence of someone who has done the work they're still avoiding. The world doesn't need more nice people. It doesn't need more rule followers. It doesn't need more comfort seekers. It needs people who have been to hell and back and decided to build something beautiful from the ashes. People who have faced the absence of meaning and created their own. People who have felt the full weight of existence and chosen to carry it rather than collapse under it. This is your choice. Remain comfortable and weak, accepted and forgotten, or become uncomfortable and strong, misunderstood and unforgettable. Nietzsche made his choice. He paid the price, loneliness, madness, misunderstanding, but he also achieved immortality, not in the religious sense, but in the sense that his ideas still terrify and inspire over a century later. His mind was so strong it survived the death of his body. Your mind can become that strong, but first, you must be willing to kill the weak version of yourself, not suppress it, not hide it, kill it. Let it die so something stronger can be born. This is the path of the Übermensch. This is the way to build a mind so strong it terrifies. Not because it threatens violence, but because it represents a possibility most people spend their entire lives avoiding. The possibility of becoming who you really are. Without apology, without permission, without limit. The abyss is waiting. The question has been asked. The path has been shown. Now the choice is yours. Will you remain among the last men, comfortable in your weakness? Or will you descend into yourself, face your darkness, and emerge as something that makes others question everything they thought they knew about human potential? Choose carefully, because once you start this transformation, there's no going back. The weak, you will die, and what emerges will terrify everyone, including at first yourself.